Today's interview is with Ellis Hammond. Ellis is a former pastor turned real estate investor. He started out with a duplex and quickly scaled into multi-family syndication, and that's where he plays today. He's learned the skill of raising money as his own fund. So, really cool interview today, and a lot of cool information. Just a great conversation in general. So, please stick around for all of that. Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multi-family real estate investor, Barry Griffiths. Now today we're joined by Ellis Hammond. Hey Ellis, how you doing, man?
What's up, dude? What's up? I just grabbed the perfect screenshot of you choke slamming on the screen, man. I'm pumped to be here, and huge wrestler fan. Back in the day, we were just talking about Sting, and I always dreamed about coming down from the rafters as Sting used to do with the metal bat, man. And just so I'm here. I'm ready to bring the energy. Love yours, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad you're a wrestling fan. That makes the questions at the end a lot easier. Sometimes people don't quite get what I'm talking about, but this will be perfect today. So cool, man. Excited to jump into today's conversation. But before we do so, do you want to give people an idea about your background, what you've been up to, and what your current focus is?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So we have a couple of real estate companies. We're focused on multifamily syndication. We also have a fund that we're raising to help investors, typically families between $3 and $10 million who aren't big enough yet and don't have like the family office structure to really vet and find good opportunities. We help them, place capital into alternative investments like real estate. Interesting enough, though, I mean, your background is in wrestling. My background, is very different than real estate as well. I was a pastor, former pastor and missionary here in San Diego. And sorry, my wife was talking, threw me off in the background. This is work from home, man, right? But anyways, I was a former pastor, and we got into real estate really as we were just trying to figure out how do we build and create wealth. We didn't come from a real estate background. We don't have high net worth families, and so real estate was the vehicle that was kind of introduced to us on how we can really get started creating and generating wealth and building passive income. And honestly, man, we fell in love with it. We bought our first deal was a duplex in San Diego, California. And then we went from there and did our first syndication deal, which was a larger apartment building. And just haven't looked back, man. I would love the community that it provides, the people that we get introduced to, along this journey. And so it's been a really fun transition. We're once a pastor, always a pastor in some ways, but I also see real estate as an incredible vehicle to create and have an impact on people's lives. And so even our current fund right now has a really strong spiritual component to it, where we're really impacting and transforming the lives of residents in our apartment communities. So, yeah, man, we're like you, really kind of early in this, been really excited to be in this industry for a really long time.
Cool, yeah, very, very cool story. It's cool to speak to someone who has a unique background. And then I think what you touched on there is, like, before we really dive into the real estate, is really interesting and really important to talk about, is like that building wealth and creating a better future for yourself, and focusing on finances isn't bad, right? It can be used for so much good, right? Like you said, like with your fund, you guys have a charitable aspect to that, right? And I think you'd be a perfect person to talk to about that, because I think some people feel guilty about caring about money and their finances and stuff, right? Because it's demonized, I think,
Yeah.
sometimes in society, right? Wouldn't you agree to some extent?
Yeah. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's so. I was just on another interview earlier. I got to introduce this guy, Brian Briscoe. He's in Colombia. He's targeting some deals in Colombia. I got to.
Yeah,
You
I've
know
had Brian
him?
on the show. Yeah, I know Brian. Great dude. Great guy.
Yeah, cool. So you guys are doing similar things. Anyway, so he asked me this question, like, what's your why? Like, what's your driving why behind this business? And I was just like, dude, my number one reason is I want to make a lot of money. Like that's why I'm in this industry, man. Like I want to build and create massive amounts of wealth. And for so long in my life, man, the reason I didn't have money is because I didn't talk about it. I didn't think about it. I didn't go after it. Right. So it never, of course, I repelled money. It's why we were poor for so long. And I think like most people are just not honest with themselves, man. You know what I mean? Like, who doesn't want to be wealthy? Like, of course you want more money. If you have more money, you can do more things, you can impact more people, you can give more. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think there is this really weird dynamic of people don't want to talk about it. But if you don't talk about it, man, how do you ever learn how to get more of it, multiply it? And so, yeah, dude, I'm totally with you, man. I- and if that comes off wrong to some people, I just don't think you definitely understand my story and what we're doing with capital. But also think that you might have an old mindset like I did of not really understanding how capital works, how capital is created, what money really flows to. Um, and so that's a huge thing I'm passionate about, man. It's just like helping people see and understand how money works, how to multiply it. Because I think the biggest issue, man, I'd love to hear your thought on this, is like, you know, the negative camp around money that that is in that camp. It's funny because most of those people are people that are W-2 income earners that really have a cap because they only make they only they trade money for time. They actually don't know how to go and create wealth, because if you knew how to create wealth, then money really wouldn't be an issue, because you can give or spend or whatever as much as you want because you know how to go create more of it, right? And so I'm just I'm curious to kind of hear what your background is in your camp, because I find that to be the case, that really education is the key to really transforming that mindset.
Yeah, man, man, I'm all on board on everything that you say, because, and the reason I want to talk about this now, the real estate is, people might be tuning in now. I want to hear about the real estate. Yeah, but I think the tough part is a lot of people need to give themselves permission to go after money, right? They need that permission because like I said, money does get demonetized, right? It's bad. Money is the root of all evil. If you care about money, you're a bad person. If you're a millionaire, you've done it because you've just screwed everyone over and blah blah blah, right? It's there's such a negative outlook on money for some reason. Like you said, when you were younger, right? You didn't talk about money, didn't think about it, right? It was just, you ignore money. Families don't talk about money these days, right? It's just you don't talk about money, right? But why? Why is that, right? I have no idea. I don't know where this came from, and it's unfortunate because it's not letting people live the lives that they could, right? And it's like you touched on there, right? Just because you want to be rich, right? You want to be rich for yourself, but you also want to be rich so you can give more, right? The more you have, the more you can give. How do you think these, billionaires give away millions of dollars every year, right? Because they made more, right? They made more so they could give more, right? And it's, I think if people
And
open their eyes and they give themselves that permission to go after that, right? And also, right, you take a person that's happy in himself, that loves himself, whatever, right? That is happy, and give him $0 or give him $1,000,000. Which life is he going to probably live better, right? I imagine the $1,000,000, as long as he's smart with it and he does it the right way, because he can give more and be more and do more,
right,
right? Wouldn't you
right.
agree? It's just,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. I mean, you look at like those who've created the most amounts of wealth, like even just recently. I mean, look at Elon Musk. Like, he's now the richest man in the world. By the way, I own Tesla shares. I'm so grateful I bought, even I mean, I love Tesla, big Tesla fan, big Elon fan. Um, Richest man in the world. Why? Because he created value.
Mhm.
He's created value to the world that people are willing to pay for. And I think that's the mindset shift of the way you build and create wealth. Here's the secret: figure out problems and create value, solve those problems. Like, that's wealth creation. Very simply, if you know how to create value and can monetize that process, then you can create as much money as your creative mind will allow you to go. And so I think like that is the mindset shift for me that really happened when I realized um money is actually just a scoreboard for the amount of value that you bring to the world.
Mm.
And so when people ask me, Ellis, I'm the Christian faith, and well, how much money should a Christian make? I just think it's a stupid question, because the question really is, it's a limiting question. It's a limiting belief. The question you should be asking is, how much value should we bring to the world? And the answer to that is infinite,
Yeah.
as much as we can. And hopefully we can, we should be rewarded for that value as well. So,
Yeah. No, I completely, I love this topic of conversation. I really do.
yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
passionate about it because I think it's just such a huge misunderstanding, and people are losing out because they're told that money is evil, right? And we like even billionaires these days are getting like seen as evil and let's tax them and blah blah blah. But when you think about a billionaire, most of them that's created that billions, how many jobs have they created? How much money in the economy have they created? Right? Because they've, like you said, they've found a problem, they've found a solution to it, they've employed people to do that, they've given people a product that they needed, right? And because of that, they've been compensated. But
Right.
if you take away that, and hopefully I'm not getting on a tangent here and people think I'm crazy here talking about, if you take away that reward that people can get for going out and working 20 hours a day for 10 years straight and providing a great product for people, providing people with jobs, right? They're not going to go and do that, and it's going to affect everyone negatively. So I think, sometimes these billionaires, like, what do you need $1 billion for? What does it matter? What is the, like you said there, right? What is the value that they've brought to society, to the economy, to people, right? That should be a better question, is like, what does it matter to you? What does he want with $1 billion, right?
Right.
What has he brought to you?
Right.
What does he talk,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I don't want to get on an Elon rant here, but what I love about this guy too is like, and that's why just money is not, I'm not, I like money but I'm not attached to it. And I look up to guys like Elon where, again, he's so focused on value. The guy actually doesn't own any real estate. He actually doesn't own very many assets. The only thing in that dude's portfolio is Tesla stock, and good for him. But because he too, and I think this is important for us as entrepreneurs, like his focus is on solving problems, and creating value, and that's really where happiness is derived, right? When you're really solving something you're passionate about. And for us, that's financial independence for us and our investors, and really giving people the opportunity to live life on their own terms. An opportunity that most people don't get in their lifetime because they were taught the wrong things about how to invest their money. And so, um, I just love being, that's why I do this show. You're not paying me to be here, but I like wrestling. And I like talking about real estate, and it brings me happiness. And so here I am.
Awesome. Well, I'd be interested. Where did that switch come from? Because you said by your own admission that at one point you were kind of repelling,
Yeah.
you had no interest, and then it seems like you did a complete switch, right?
Yeah.
What
I
was that?
saw pain. I saw pain in our people. Like a young man was on our team and we were raising funds, and just the well dried up, and just saw the pain of that, not having enough capital or money coming in to buy groceries, and just realizing I had more gifts that I knew that I could, use and leverage to create capital, and just wasn't, because I was scared or thought money was evil or whatever I thought back then. It wasn't. It was just it was hindering me. So that was the switch, man, of realizing, like, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna figure out how to build wealth. Like, I don't want to be in this position anymore, and I want to help more people. And we were helping a lot of people with our time and our ministry, but I wanted to be able to help people with our money too. And you can't help many people with money if you don't have any. So, so that was a switch for us, man.
Yeah, and so what brought you to real estate? Because obviously, there's a few different aspects that you.
Yeah, well, I had no idea. I just thought I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna go get rich. Let's go to real estate. It was, I'm gonna go build wealth, but I had no idea what to do. And again, I'm sure there were so many opportunities up to this point that presented itself, but because I wasn't asking for it, it never presented itself. And this is a hilarious story. I was driving in the car and I heard a radio ad. I had an old 2001 Ford Explorer Sports. I couldn't even like play my couldn't even play my iPhone on that or something. So I was still listening to the radio, and I heard a radio ad. Like, if you want to learn how to build wealth through real estate, come to this 2-hour in-person event in San Diego. And I went and changed my life. They're one of those programs they're trying to, pitch you on their course and whatnot. And I didn't necessarily take advantage of that. But I just saw the room full of average Joes who were talking about the money that they made in real estate. And that was the first time I ever realized that you didn't have to be a millionaire to get started in real estate. And, I just always thought real estate was the end game. One day, if we ever have money, we'll buy that piece of real estate or whatever, like, no, actually real estate is the starting point for those who want to build wealth. And, so I left that seminar and said, this is it. We're going to do it. We're going to buy real estate. I can do this. And I think 4 months after that, we bought our first duplex.
Very cool. Yeah. Man, you said some cool things there. So for one, I hear that all the time. One day, in 2 years, my friend said to me the other day, in 2 years, I hope to buy a real estate investment. I said, well, why don't you buy in the next 2 months? I don't have money. I said, well, you don't need necessarily your own money. There's other ways to do it. No. In 2 years' time, I need to study. I need to do this. And then in 2 years' time, I'll be ready. Do you think he's going to buy in 2 years?
No.
There's no chance, right? There's no. So the reason I say this, because I think it's so important. I think so many people tell themselves that, right? That they're going to buy in 2 years, or they're going to do this, right? And I need another one you said there, right? I need millions of dollars to invest in real estate. Only Donald Trump and people like that invest in real estate. Well, no, the reality is there's everyday people investing in real estate every day, right? Mm-hmm. It's amazing. There's a saying, right? That I can't remember who says it, but I love it. It's something like, real estate is the final frontier where average Americans can create massive wealth, right? And
yeah, I say that. You probably heard that from me. I do. I don't know who. I don't know. Maybe I stole it from someone else, but I think it is the last frontier for it because it's simple. It's not. You don't need to have this huge technological background. Like it levels the playing field, man. If you can work hard and, like I said, figure out how to bring value, you can make money in this industry.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And I think, also to clarify a little bit for someone who's never maybe invested or they just got tuned into real estate investing, I always say though, if you have no money, you can invest in real estate 100%, right? There's people that with debt, with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, they've started investing. But I think you've got to treat it a little bit more like a job, right? You've got to go to work in real estate, right? And that doesn't mean work for someone else. It can, but it means you've got to go. So if you're going to go wholesaling, right? So you start wholesaling, you've got to go to work. You've got to find a list, drive for dollars, do a mailing campaign, right?
Let's be clear. If you already have money, if you're like listening to this because you got money, don't become a real estate operator. Like, don't do that. Like, just come and invest with guys like me or Barry, right? Like, and leverage our experience, our talent, our know in the market, our access to deals, and just invest in real estate. But if you're starting out and you're trying to figure out how do I get out of this 9-to-5 job that's never going to help me retire, then I think that's where you might consider, okay, how do I actually begin to maybe find my own deals or raise money to do deals, or like you said, these other routes like wholesaling and whatnot. So, because I do think that's a big misconception that, you have to be real estate, like you have to be managing or a landlord or whatever in order to be invested in real estate. And of course that's not true, because I'm pretty sure you are looking to do syndication. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So then investors come to you and they don't need to go do all those things, and they can still own the majority of the larger deals that you're buying. And the reality is they'll probably make a better return because it's professionally managed. I mean, any deal I've done, like the reason we sold our duplex is because like it was so it's just hard to professionally manage and treat, a single family home or a duplex like it's so mom and pop ran. You can't get professional management. You're doing a lot on your own, so they'll probably make a better return buying bigger deals with you. They're taking on less risk because they don't have to put their name on the loan, and you're completely passive, right? So if you can make 15 or 16% with Barry and maybe make 18 or 19% on your own, but you got to do all the work, there's a trade-off there that I think really makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. It's you've got to figure out what works for you, right? Like you said, if you have no money, right, okay, you can't put that money with someone else. But if you do have money and say you're good at your job, right, and you're just starting out with real estate investing, well, you want to consider investing with someone else, because when you start by yourself, you can make a ton of mistakes, right? Why not use someone else who's made those mistakes already and just invest with them, and also free up your time, and there's a ton of other stuff as well there. But I want to circle back on something else you said there as well, right? So you were driving along and you heard that on the radio, right? And that was what kind of got you into it. But I recently was speaking to someone about the law of attraction, and that's really interesting me. And the law of attraction was like a little woo-ish to me, right? It just sounded like kind of kooky-ish or whatever. But when someone broke it down to me and it just said it's simply attracting and being open to stuff, I was like, wow, yeah, that's such a powerful thing, right? Because imagine had you not been open and looking to create wealth, right? You could have heard that radio, that commercial on the radio, and you may have heard it 100 times before, right? But you weren't open to it, right? But because you were open to it and you had that law of attraction, you attracted it because you were open to it, and then you went. You may never have heard that, may never have went, and may never have be where you are now if you weren't open to that. And that's such a concept I'm so interested in at this point. Like, it's just, I know it's a kind of a basic concept, but I think it's so important, because if you're not open to stuff and willing to accept stuff that you're looking for, you'll never find them, right?
Well, even to think about your audience for a second, I'm sure they're open-minded people. That's why they're listening to this podcast. They probably in some ways agree with what you're saying. I think to take it a step further in that regard, because you're absolutely right. The cynic, the cynic never finds opportunities because he's always hating on other people. But I think to even go a little bit farther, where I have found like where there's more work to be done is not just being open to opportunity, but even celebrating the success of others, right? Like that could be another step for people listening, in that um, it, it's not just being a cynic, but if you can't celebrate when someone else is doing well, like we talked about those people who are hating on Elon, like then don't expect you're going to do very well either. Like if you can't see success and celebrate it and then go and ask questions about how they're doing it so you can replicate it, then you're also missing out on so much, right? And so I think that's another step too, man, of like in my own heart and mind trying to practice when I see someone close a deal, or even in our industry, finding tremendous success. It's not like, oh, well, man, is that like, oh, I wish we were doing that, or man, that's taking away from what we're doing because they're closing deals in our market. Like, I have to really catch myself, and instead of thinking like that, thinking, man, awesome, like that's doable. Man, if we can do it, right? Like that's so congrats, and then really celebrating that, because I think that's another way to stay open to opportunities is really celebrating success when you see it, and not not being a hater. I don't know how else to say that, but I think that's the next level to that as well.
Yeah, and let it inspire you, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
let it inspire. Like they're closing deal, man. I need to be closing deals. I'm doing deals. So yeah, I like that a lot. So that first duplex that you bought, right? You guys started looking. How did you guys find it, and why did you guys decide to buy that duplex?
Yeah, we knew nothing, man. A mentor. I mean, we found a good mentor. I was an evangelist for what we were trying to do, and I told everyone what we were trying to buy. And I just happened to get introduced to this apartment investor in our local city here, and we struck up a friendship. And he just began to help me kind of look for opportunities. And this was one of the ones that he brought to me, and we kind of trusted his word. I mean, at that point, I at least knew how to run the numbers. I knew how to underwrite deals. And so I could tell that I didn't think we were going to lose any money on this deal. But you also can't, plan for a 2x type appreciation in a market like San Diego when you buy it. So we did exceptionally well in this duplex. But we had a mentor who really helped. And honestly, that's how a lot of success has come to us, is just being attached to the right people and mentors who are farther along. And that's how we did our second syndication deal too. We found a mentor that, had the experience and track record, and we really leveraged our experience of raising funds. And that's how we did our second deal.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, because I think you said something really important there as well. Tell everyone what you're doing, right? You know what I mean? Because if you don't tell people what you're doing, how are they going to know? How are people going to help you? And it's such a simple concept, but it's so brilliant as well. And you hear it time and time again. And just want
you have to, man. Ed Milet is a guy that I listen to a lot, and he says you have to be an evangelist for your cause, right? Like on this path of entrepreneurship and wealth building, you have to be an evangelist for what you're trying to do, and telling everyone and being really focused and communicating that clearly to everyone. And so that's why when people ask me why, I'm like, hey, we're trying to build massive amounts of wealth. You want to be a part of it or not? And if that's not important to you, then maybe we're not the right partner. And hey, we're trying to impact people for Christ. Our faith is important to us. If that's not really important to you, then we're probably not the best group for you. You know what I mean? Like I know what we're trying to accomplish and want to work with those type of people. But yeah, man, the evangelist piece, and that's my background anyways. But I think and that can be hard for folks. Like, I don't want to talk about what I'm doing. Like, well, honestly, my mindset is like, that's selfish too, man. Because if you're truly trying to bring value into the world, you need to tell people about it.
Yeah, this was, and I like that as well. You always, it's the same with when you're trying to get people to invest. Or that's the wrong wording, right? When you're trying to give people the opportunity to invest with you, right? You owe it to people. It's selfish not to let people know on this great investment, because it is, right? We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't think it was a great opportunity for people, right? You get to be a passive investor in a deal. You get to invest in a large syndication, and usually a large multifamily property, right? That you would never ever be able to afford usually by yourself. You get cash flow, you get appreciation, you get tax benefits, and it's truly is passive, right? You just mailbox money, check that you've got the money every month, and it's just an amazing opportunity. So it's selfish of us actually not to give that opportunity to other people, right? And I love that when you change that mindset as well. I think it really helps, right? You're not asking people for money. You're giving people an opportunity to better their finances, better their life.
Yep, exactly. And honestly, it comes off like, if you really come from that position, then you won't have a hard time talking about that. It's when you think, oh man, I'm trying to, I gotta go get these people's money to close the deal or whatever. That's when it really comes off as more salesy or really unattractive. Where probably why you have this bad sense of trying to sell, is because you've had a bad experience, right? Of someone who really didn't believe in their product and tried to sell it to you, and so now you replicate that because that was your experience. And so that's so right on, man.
Awesome. Well, so you bought a duplex. You said that went well. Then you went to a syndication, right? From there, what size deal did you guys jump in from a duplex?
It was a $9.5 million deal, 144 units, and again, like we just leveraged the experience of someone else who had the track record and the deals and the opportunity even, and we just leveraged what we had, which was a network of capital. And that wasn't a huge piece, but it was enough to really bring value to the other partner. And that was our start, man. And that gave us a story to start talking about. And I think that's so important too for people getting in. Like, get something that you can talk about, because that will change the game. Your buddy who's going to be invested in 2 years, the biggest problem for him, man, is that he doesn't have anything to talk about for 2 years. Like, you need something now so that 2 years from now you can go buy something bigger, right? Like, go do something to give you an opportunity to talk about it. So buying the duplex, and then we were able to talk about that to other investors, and then we bought the syndication deal, and so we were able to chat about that, and really start to kind of build a brand around, hey, we bought this deal, we're going to keep buying more of these deals. And so that was a huge stepping stone for us.
Yeah, but what was it that made you guys decide? I mean, you talked about the management component earlier, that you got more professional management, but that's early on in your journey, right? You guys bought you first, and then you guys decided, hey, hold on a second, there's a better way. Was that kind of what it was? And you like, we don't want to be in this small property, we want to scale, or did it?
Yeah, well, we have more money to buy duplexes. Like, that's the problem with thinking too small, is that even you just don't. If you're going to buy all the deals yourself, unless you're already rich, you're just going to run out of money. And so, that's when we learned about syndication, right? Where we can actually pool funds from investors to go and buy bigger deals, and that just made sense to me. Something I knew I could be really good at, and from an investment standpoint and who I was bringing into it, I just knew this was like a better investment. Why would I have you come and invest in this duplex who only has 2 tenants? One of them moves out. Now we're 50% vacant. Your capital's at risk, when we could go buy 144 units, right? And so if 10% of the clientele moves out from there, we still got 90% occupancy where people can still live and rent, and we're still cash flowing. And so it just made more sense. Professionally managed, like I was telling you about, it was a big deal. And so, yeah, man, that just, I saw, and I think for me personally, why I like this business is, so we have a team now. I have 3 other partners, and they do a lot of the other stuff that I don't do, like I don't like to do. We have two guys who are just amazing when it comes to underwriting and putting together financial projections and estimates. We have an incredible guy who really kind of focuses on our asset management component and dealing with property management and PM conversations. So that frees me up to do this. Get on this webinar or this podcast and tell people about what we're building, and hopefully people want to come work with us. Like marketing, or I'm flying to Dallas and for about 4 times over the next month to meet with investors there. Like that's the part of the business I really enjoy. And when you're doing bigger real estate, there's enough meat on the bones here where you can have partners and you can really focus on what you're good at and really hire out or even partner with others to do the things that you're not.
Yeah, for me, I love that aspect of multifamily as well, right? Like you said, I'm similar. I have 3 other partners as well, and you just plug in the parts that you don't want to do, right? Essentially, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
The stuff that you don't like doing or that you're not good at. Just find people that are good at that. Like you don't want to find someone else that's good at the same thing as you, right? Because who does what then, right? And that's kind of pointless. Just plug the holes. And then you build a team like that. And I think I love that about it, right? And the difference is, and people are like, well, why don't you do that with single family? Well, you could essentially, but you've got to do so much more volume, right? With a single family for something like that to work, right? You take a normal single family home, right? Here in Vegas, I think the average price is $345 now, right? For an average home, right? What is the cash flow you're going to get on something like that? $100, $200, $300 on a decent deal here, and you have 3 partners, so you'll get maybe $100 each, and you all invested how many hours or whatever. But you take a large multifamily, like that $9.5 million dollar deal that you guys get. There's a much bigger pie on something like that, right? So you can split it 4 ways. And there's more work, but I don't know if it's 4 times more work. You know what I mean? And especially you have partners that are designated, they have their own lane and they stay to it, and everyone's good at what they do. You can kind of split that up. So I love that about multifamily.
How did you find your partners, and what pieces did y'all carve out?
Yeah, it was similar to you. I guess we're kind of similar, but I love speaking to people, getting to know people. I'm not so good at, I can do it, the underwriting aspect of stuff, but I found a partner that, he's really good at underwriting. A couple of them actually, they both enjoy the underwriting. They look at numbers and they're able to do that. And then another guy that likes the asset management side of stuff. And the other guy's an experienced operator as well. So he brings that experience and guidance, and he can do a little bit of everything. So I found him through networking through this podcast, and went to a Saturday underwriting session. I met them there. You just build that friendship, and it's when you surround yourself with these people and put yourself in that position, as I guess going back to the law of attraction or whatever, you kind of attract this, right? If you don't go do these things, if you don't put yourself out there, if you're not meeting people, if you're not talking to people, this is never going to happen. So that's kind of how it worked for me. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm similar like you. I think I enjoy talking to people and getting out there. I don't enjoy being behind the computer too much.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
How out of interest, how are you meeting your investors these days?
Well, I do a lot of speaking engagements, webinars. We have a podcast, Kingdom REI. So a lot of things online. I just spoke to a large group of self-directed investors through a webinar platform, and that brought in some new leads. But all those things are really passive marketing. Like you show up and you hope people want to work with you, like this. Show up. I hope people hear. It's not really active marketing. Like it's not, I wouldn't even say a very predictable or scalable model. And so we're trying to try some new things in this year, where we're going to be doing some in-person dinner seminars, and where we'll be inviting high net worth individuals to come to dinner, and we'll pay for the experience. And really it's like an educational type seminar where, hey, like learning about what's happening in the world of real estate, and why your financial advisor isn't showing you these type of investments, and why you should, if you want to go do this but you really can't because you can't do this on your own, like why you would want to go buy stuff like this. And then an application to work with our group is kind of what we're moving into. I just think it I don't know, still too early to tell if it's a real scalable model, but so we're doing a couple of different things, man. I mean, that's what's nice about kind of being fully focused on this. We can try a lot of stuff, but most of our capital at this point has been just like everyone else. I mean, webinars, conferences, starting our own real estate show. We have other capital partners through our mastermind that partner with us on deals. And and then like I said, and we're gonna kind of move to more of an in-person style raise. Not like it's not a big pitch where you show up and pitch your thing. It's more of like, hey, I really do want to educate you on this. If you want to apply to work with us after this, we should talk. And so we'll see how that goes.
I like that. I like that idea a lot, because in person, like you said, doing these podcasts and webinar stuff is great. It really is. It's really a great way to do it. But it's kind of mass marketing almost to some extent, right? Whereas you're in person, you're there in front of them. You can ask you whatever question you want. They see you, feel
Right.
you. They can see your expression. They
Right.
almost
Yeah,
smell
because it
you,
might
right?
take you, let's say you got listeners on this show, and it might take you 9 months before they're gonna have to listen to this show. They got to get comfortable with what you're talking about. They'll have to go do their research. Where you get in person, you can accelerate that pretty quickly. You walk them through, you answer their questions, they like you. You have a timeline for when this deal is going to close, and we can accelerate that from 9 months to maybe 72 hours. And anyways, that seems like a more scalable, predictable model for us. And there's some things happening with the SEC right now, man. Like so this kind of stuff, I'm glad we're talking about this. This can be more conversational. This thing I'm learning, like, the SEC is potentially, they've proposed that they might change the rules for capital raising, right? So before, you either had to have you had to have either like your own deal where you're raising money for. That's kind of the way you can get around this broker license, or you have to have your license, right? Essentially to sell securities. Um, well, they're thinking about really changing that so that you don't have to have a license and you can actually pitch someone else's deal and get compensated for it. And so if that's the case, man, then you think about, you could really build a sales team to kind of start pitching your own investments. And so those are kind of some of the things we're starting to build for, looking towards the future of, if that passes, I think you could build a really scalable capital raising business, that wasn't so centered around one influencer. And I think that will be exciting to kind of see what happens with the SEC, in line with some of the new things we're trying to do in terms of raising money.
Yeah, no, I was reading up about that the other day. It seems really, really interesting. If they pass that, that would be great. I think it would just, it kind of goes on anyway, right? To some extent,
Yeah.
in the businesses,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
just,
I think it will, man. I mean, I know what they're trying to do. You don't want to, if you can pay people based on money they raise, compensation based, and how do you know if they're looking out for the investor? But I mean, this is what sales in general is, man. Like, like everyone's trying to sell a product, and sometimes they have the best interest and sometimes they don't. So, it's interesting. I understand the regulations, I really do, but I do think there's time for a change, and I think it's probably coming pretty soon.
yeah, yeah. Quickly, I want to ask you about the fund before we get into the last four
Yeah.
questions. Quick, on a high level, tell us about the fund that you guys have set up and why you guys decided to do so, rather than just raising for on a deal by deal basis.
Honestly, it was the opportunity, man. The podcast just has introduced me to some incredible people, and I got introduced to this group called Waymaker, and institutional kind of quality type group. They've brought in just some titans in the industry and formed this committee in this larger fund, and they'll probably raise, they'll raise several hundred million over the next couple of years for this. Um, so they're playing with some pretty big players, but they're going to be able to go because of who they have. I mean, they just have some industry leading folks that are involved, so their access to the market and to deals will be pretty unique. And then they have this really cool, like I was saying, ministry component to what they're doing, and part of the business model is actually spiritual care inside of these apartment communities. And they've proven that if you can increase the amount of relationships people have in these communities, the lower your turnover will be. And as an apartment owner and investor, that your retention rate or your turnover is a huge expense in apartment communities. So if you can reduce the amount of turnover in your communities, you can add a significant amount of money to your bottom line. And so anyways, it's part of the really cool business model in terms of how they're operating these assets. So we started chatting and about the opportunity of us partnering together and us actually forming an entry point or entryway into this larger fund for smaller type investors, sub 1 million. And so, they vetted us, we vetted them. And so what we've created essentially is the only access point into this large fund for your ordinary everyday investor, right? 100K to 500K, or really anything less than a million, is kind of who we're targeting. So it was just a great opportunity, and it was an opportunity for me to really provide something to my investors that was really unique. Access to deals that they won't see really from any other kind of single operator or syndicator, even from our own asset management team. Like, we just won't be able to do deals like this. So it just was a cool opportunity. I really like the fund model because, it's not like I got to wait on this deal. I can raise fund. They can actually start getting paid, early on. And so it was more about the opportunity. But now that I've done the fund, I really like it, man, and may try to continue to keep doing stuff like this.
Yeah. Again, sorry, quickly, I'll be interested if you don't mind sharing. What structure do you set that up with in terms of giving investors returns?
Yeah. Okay. So like in terms of our split.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we on our feeder fund. So it's a feeder fund. So we're raising money and placing that money with this single operator, and they have their own splits, right? That they have negotiated with our fund. Lucky for us, we've actually negotiated a 50% discount on their end. So what that allows us to do is, because they're discounting their management fee and their promote on the back end by 50%, we charge that other 50% on our fund. And so that allowed us, to essentially get paid for putting this fund together, because we're essentially receiving that discount for managing the fund. And then on our fund level, we have a very simple 80-20 split. We pay 100% return of capital. So all the money, every dollar you put in, you'll get back out, as long as it's there, which, we wouldn't be doing these type of deals if it wasn't. And then on the upside, we split 80-20.
Cool. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, funds.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
There's an 80-20 split on the back end.
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
I think funds are becoming more and more popular. But then again, it'd be interesting to see, because I think it was a way around for people to be able to raise capital. But if this SEC changes in regulations happen, I don't know if that would change the concept of the fund for a lot of people. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, I guess.
Yeah. Who will become very important.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, as this show is called, I know you have a hard stop in a little bit, so I'll power through this. As this show is called Wrestling with Real Estate, I forgot for a second what I was going to say. As this show is called Wrestling with Real Estate, I like to incorporate some wrestling-related real estate questions, and you're going to be really good at this. I know it already. Being a wrestling fan, what would your wrestling name be if you picked one for yourself?
Dude, it's been hard to even focus on this conversation, because I've been thinking about my wrestling name this whole time. Some of my favorite guys were Sting, Stone Cold Steve Austin, like those guys. Booker T, just some really cool guys. I think I would just be like the Crusher, like that just seems like a cool name, like the Crusher, or I don't know. That's what's coming to my mind right now. I'd probably want to think about that a little bit more, but that just seems like, I'm coming in, we're crushing folks, you know what I'm saying? So that would probably be it.
Okay, I love it. So as you well know, every wrestler has a special move, right? A signature move. Something that they're really, really good at. So what is your special move in real estate?
Yes, that's a great question. I think for us, man, interesting enough, like I think it's been marketing. And I think that's really overlooked in this industry, because a lot of folks, focus on the deal, and yes, we have a great product, but I see a lot of people trying to grow their business by talking about their product and not really realizing, like, people don't really care as much about the product. Now, I know if you're listening to your investor saying, I care about the product. Yeah, I know you do, but it's not the first thing you look at, right? Like, you really do care. You really resonate with the person first, the story, and then the product becomes important. And so I think for us, man, it's been having a compelling and powerful story that we tell over and over again. about why we're in this business and what we're trying to accomplish. And so I think that's been a really powerful tool for us.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, marketing is so important, right? Because without marketing, how do people know about you, right? If they don't know about you, they can't do anything with you, right? So it's
Mhm.
so powerful for sure. What's been the biggest body slam you've taken in your real estate investing career, you think?
Yeah. I mean, 2020 was pretty difficult, man. In terms of we thought we would do a lot more transactions and it just didn't happen. And, we created another community to just kind of not necessarily a pivot, but just a second business and online community. And that really helped to bring, to bring in new revenue. And, the way I would say we're trying to overcome just this past year, one was the fund, right? So creating another investment opportunity for folks, but then also just like doubling down on our commitment. And so the first week of this year we were in our market, like, hey, we're meeting with brokers, we're meeting with groups, and just trying to get there, be more present. Where the difficulty increases, so does our need for our commitment to increase. And so I don't know any other way to do it, man.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So was there a moment that you were standing on the top rope getting ready to jump, but you were too scared? So was there a moment you were standing on the top rope getting ready to jump, but you were too scared? What was it, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I mean, I, this was, this year, even though we started buying real estate 3 years ago, this was our first year where we kind of fully moved out of our full-time ministry position and into running and operating this business. And so, gave up salary and income, and, it was like, well, I think we got enough money in savings, but thankfully we created a business and started really doing well and didn't have to do that. But I think that was it, man, of like, leaving what was comfortable to pursue really what we felt called to, what we were excited about, me and my wife. And so that was super scary. I just remember um even thinking too, like, I'm leaving my biggest impact because I loved what I did. And that was just a barrier for me. Like, is what I'm doing next going to really have an impact? Can I really do as much good there? And so all of these things, man, just the questioning myself and questioning how this was going to go. And just was so thankful for the people I had in my life who just continued to remind me of who I was, the value that I can bring. And just having a coach and friends to really encourage and push and challenge me, remind me that we're doing the right thing. And so that was it. And I'm so thankful we did that, man. Think about, there's so many people in this world, man, um who talk about doing stuff, who dream about doing stuff and never do it because they're scared to fail, or they're scared of really the worst case scenario, which probably can, never happen. I mean, the worst case scenario for us, man, would be that, think about, like, the worst case would be we'd be on the streets. But think about like, what would the reality is, that's not even possible. If we lost all of our money, we just go live with our parents. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that would suck, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? And like, I think most people are just. I'm so glad we did that, because I won't look back and be like, man, we waited too long to do that. We never really pursued our dreams, and we never really got to a place financially that we wanted to be because we really didn't take any risk. And so that's it, man.
That's awesome, yeah. Because I think that pain of regret is actually way more painful than anything that can happen
Yeah, yeah,
as a result of something going wrong, of you trying stuff, right? Regret is just a horrible thing to live with. So I encourage anyone to go out there and do whatever it is. Like, if it's real estate investing, just go out there and do it. Go for it, right? We only have one life, and it's unfortunately a pretty short life when you add it all up. Well, Ellis, hey man, thanks so much for making time. It's been a lot of cool conversation today. I talked about a lot of cool subject stuff I'm really passionate about, stuff I'm really interested in. I love your story, man, from what being a pastor to now raising money for multifamily deals and using funds, and just not only doing it for yourself, right? Like you said, your own mission, creating massive wealth for yourself, but also having that charitable side to it as well, wanting to improve other people's lives as well. So I love that. So thank you so much for sharing everything that you did today, man. But before we go, where can people find out more if they want to reach out and get in touch with you, if they want to find out more about what's going on with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I post a ton of stuff on LinkedIn. Make sure you're following me on LinkedIn. Is a great way. We have a podcast, Kingdom REI, and then to learn more, if you can learn more about our company, ellishammond.com is where we kind of host a lot of that. Just my name, ellishammond.com, is a little bit about our company. So email me, and maybe LinkedIn is a great way to connect. I would say go there, ellishammond.com, but email me. My email is just invest@ellishammond.com. Would love to hear from you. Just put in there, heard you on Barry's podcast, and I'll make sure that goes to me, and we'll get connected.
Perfect. Well, cool, man. Have an awesome rest of your day, and thank you for making the time, man. That was a great conversation.
Hey, thank you, brother. I'm really excited about this, man. Excited for this to come out.
Cool. Thank you.